The perfect history curriculum. Can you imagine it? Hi, I'm Rachel from 7 and All, and I am a second-generation homeschooler who makes a whole lot of videos about homeschool these days on YouTube. A few months ago, in around September, I made a video on teaching history well for homeschoolers, about asking questions and bringing up concepts about how do we do a good job teaching history in our homeschools. And the response to that video was really asking me a whole lot of questions about what resources would I recommend to help families accomplish this. And so I'm bringing you kind of the part 2 to teaching history well today. Now, if you haven't seen that video, Teaching History Well, I will put that up in the cards so that you can understand where I'm coming from. Now, based on the concepts in my video about teaching history well, the perfect homeschool history curriculum for me would be one that, number one, avoids morality first style of instruction for history. So, for example, it's not a curriculum that expects us to mainly teach our kids different kinds of virtuous character traits based on a cherry-picked handful of heroes from history. That's not my goal for learning history, is to just like pick out different moral character traits from different characters in history. So that would be the first element of the perfect history curriculum. The second element would be that it would teach kids the messy process behind how we get history in the first place. The third element of perfection would be that it's a history curriculum that does not spend excessive amounts of time studying US history, but leaves enough time to really cover world history in a very thorough way, rather than just squeezing it into 2 or 3 years out of 12. And the last element of a perfect history curriculum for me would be that it doesn't major on the minors, to use a phrase that my mom uses a lot, or it doesn't spend a whole lot of time making Grecian urns, to use a phrase that is known throughout educational pedagogy and the homeschool world, which is basically, is this a history curriculum that really focuses on doing super Instagrammable fun activities, or is this history curriculum designed to build deep understanding of the complex, multifaceted story of humanity? So that's what I'm looking for in a perfect history curriculum. And I have to tell you, it doesn't exist. And I do not mean that as a criticism of the history curriculums that do exist, or even that I've used. I think when we look at history as the story of thousands of years of human imperfection, we realize that it's probably asking a little bit too much to expect a perfect history curriculum. When we realize what history really is and how big it really is, we understand it kind of is asking a lot of any one author, of any one publisher, of the 3-year history cycle or the 4-year history cycle to do it justice in any completion. So maybe our first step would be to pedal back from perfection a little bit in our history, in our homeschools. But that does not mean that we don't keep seeking to be better, to understand others better, and to be creating deep understanding for our kids. So now I've kind of thrown perfection off the table right here. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to give you anything helpful in this video. I will be sharing what I do instead, and I'm going to be sharing you a really helpful new resource that makes it a little bit easier to get closer in the direction of perfection. So, I want a diverse history experience for my kids. I want them to understand the complexity of it all, that it's not black and white, that there's not just one good guy and one bad guy all the time. There are guys that were pretty seriously evil in history, and there were guys that were good, and then they also did some bad things. Humanity is complex. I want my kids to understand that. So how do I get started? Number one, I will choose a curriculum, a history curriculum, and I'm just going to run with it. I'm not going to be like, oh man, I really disagree with what they said about this one guy, so I'm just gonna toss it and totally start over from scratch, because I've seen a lot of homeschool curriculums, and at this point, I don't think any of them are going to be perfect, as I've said. I am not going to choose a morality first or morality based history curriculum. You know, the kind where, okay, we're going to learn about honesty. As an example of honesty, we're going to learn about George Washington. And the whole point of learning about George Washington is to convince your kids to be honest and to honor him as an honest person and then want to be honest themselves. Basically, all of those curriculums I do stay far away from personally. For myself, that's not what I want my kids to get out of history. That's not what I want to spend time teaching for history, because when I want my children to learn virtues and to learn morality, I will turn to scripture and to the source, not to sinful humankind. So I do avoid those type of methodologies of teaching history, but I'll pick a curriculum, I'll run with it, but then I will keep my eyes open to see where do I need to add to it. And what do homeschoolers love to add in? Books, read-alouds, picture books, big books, books of any kind, for any kind of age. We love books, so it's not any hardship to add in a variety of voices, because with any curriculum, you're going to have one, overarching voice, or with a literature-based curriculum like Sunlight, you will have a variety of voices, but usually there's one history spine. I like to look at a curriculum and see where is it lacking some voices. Maybe we need more Asian, maybe we need more of the story of Asia, the impact on Asia in World War II. And so I'll add in some books on that kind of topic. Or maybe, we're actually really weak on our ancient history in South America. Like, we don't know anything about the legends and what the people believed who lived in South America during ancient times. So what should we do? We should look for some books on that type of topic. So as you are making your plan and looking where to add in, look for those parts of your globe, in a sense, the one inside your head when you're planning history class. Look for those parts that are very bare, that you don't have any books about. If you're already reading 5 books set in Europe, let's pick a book set somewhere else. But where do you find these books? I know for many of you, you get a lot of your great homeschool book recommendations from watching homeschool YouTube moms like me. There are many moms on here that share excellent book recommendations. You've got Katie from Life in the Mundane, you've got Megan from Pennies and Salt, so many that I could name. On Instagram, Heritage Mom is always sharing excellent books, but those are kind of random, and you gotta kind of, okay, this is a good book for when I study this topic or when I have kids that are this age. But what if you could search for exactly the books you need? Well, guess what? You can. There's a website that's relatively new, and this is why I wanted to share this resource with you, because I don't think enough people know about it yet, called Stories of Color. And I'm going to take you into the website. Basically, it's a search engine full of homeschool book recommendations, and they do pay specific attention to recommending books from kind of those more bare spots on our history globe, those areas where it can be harder to find history and stories and the lives of people. So I'm going to take you straight into the website to show you what it's like and how to use it, because it can be a little bit tricky until you get the hang of it. But once you get the hang of it, you'll realize what an amazing tool this is to take your history studies and your history curriculum up a level and keep building that complex understanding for your kids. So no, I don't have any perfect homeschool history curriculum to offer you, but I did want to offer you a very powerful resource that I think more people need to know about, because I think it's very cool. It's something that has been put together and created by homeschool moms who are passionate about history, passionate about learning about different cultures and seeing the representation of many perspectives in history, helping our kids to understand a rich history. And this is the website storiesofcolor.com. I'm going to show you this website and take you through a little bit of how you can use it to use it as a tool in planning your own family's history studies with whatever spine that you choose. and you're wanting to add more books from more cultures and learn about more perspectives within your history studies, this is such a powerful resource. Stories of Color is it's a website that has a free access catalog of thousands upon thousands of books that have been suggested by homeschool moms who have read these books, who know what these books are about. So it's specifically designed for homeschool. It tends to espouse a more of a Charlotte Mason approach to history. So that's why we're talking specifically about living books here. That's why they use that terminology. But it's specifically living books that are more than just like the same 50 books repeated again and again that every homeschool kid should read. It's a whole lot more, and there's so much choice for so many different perspectives and so many different cultures, countries. They have a ton of information about every book on this list. So let me take you through, because it can be kind of overwhelming when you first look at this. So you can see here, this is their catalog right on their main page of Stories of Color. Then they have a whole list of books, and this is just the whole large catalog. They have different sections of information for every book that they have. So I'll scroll that to the side so you can see that they have the author of the book. They have just a synopsis. What basically is this book? They have the recommended grade levels for reading the book. They have the time period that the general history cycle or time period for that book. The perspective of, let me see, is that the author perspective? That's the cultures or perspectives represented in the book. If there's a specific nation that is covered in the book, or a specific nation where the story is set, that is recorded. We have the genre, how many pages, is it fiction or nonfiction? Then they have, are there photographs or illustrations? What language is it in? They have quite a few Spanish books on this website as well, or English and Spanish. They have their ratings. They have any little notes or warnings about the book, what year it was printed, whether it's in print or not, because, it can be really frustrating to get a great book recommendation and then find out it's pretty much impossible to access. That has happened to me before. And then they even have links to check and see if this book is available in a library near you, or to buy this book. So it's awesome. I think that this website does not get enough press. It's not as well known as it should be. But so this whole catalog can be a little bit overwhelming. So you need to narrow it down a little bit. And here's what makes this super awesome. You can go straight here to filter. There might be a couple different ways to, of course, sort and figure out what exactly you're looking for. But this is the way I do it. Filter and then click Add Condition. And then you can choose, what are you looking for? Am I looking for books within a certain time period? Maybe this year we are studying 1650s to 1800. That's our rough time period. So I want to find books that are within that time period. And I don't want to be juggling through books that are, 12th grade, high school level books when I'm teaching elementary. My kids are in elementary right now. So then I can turn on the elementary. And so right there, that might be enough for my search. I could add more conditions. If I wanted books on a certain region of the world or certain culture, I could pick a region. If you are studying a specific country, say you're studying the history of China or Greece or a certain country, you can pick nations. But maybe this is enough for me right now. I just know we're studying this time period. My kids are roughly at this age level. That might be enough for me to go and look through, okay, what are some suggestions? That might also be too much. So I do think that probably putting in a region of the world, putting in a culture might be definitely helpful when you know what general route you are taking, what your spine is generally covering, and then you want to go a little further, or you want to add in other perspectives that are not being covered so much by your spine. Maybe your spine is focusing on, European history at this time, but you also do want to care a little bit about what's going on in Asia at the same time, what's going on in South America at the same time. So if you're trying to kind of bring in focusing on the time, but looking at the whole world within a certain time period, that is definitely something you can do. There are many different ways to use this, but I feel like this is an excellent tool that makes it just a lot more accessible to getting started on getting to books beyond just the same old books and stories, same old characters that we have heard about and read about so many times, which are great to read about. But when we're wanting something more from history, this is an excellent tool to get started with when looking for living books that go beyond just the same stories, but go into stories that even you have not heard before. So this is just the resource I wanted to share with you. I hope this is helpful. You can head straight to their website. I'm not part of the team. I'm not affiliated with them at all. I follow quite a few of the members who kind of put book lists together. I follow them on Instagram. I think that they're doing very cool things. So they give different book lists every month. So if you are studying a specific region, you can totally use their book lists. They have books of the month lists from the people that work with Stories of Color, and it's just a really cool thing, and I wanted you to know about it. All right, I'll be seeing you. Bye.